To Help You. Help You is a production of Rockland Psychiatric Center, which features experts to discuss news and views, issues and concerns, trends and innovations in the field of mental and general health. I'm your host, Don Pasquale. Today we have with us somebody different that I never thought about being in and talking about mental health or otherwise. This is Dr. Anthony SAYEGH, who's going to tell us about, he's a chiropractor. And I don't know what chiropractic is about, but he's going to tell us, and he has some very interesting insight as to what he does and what he is doing for the world. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you.
Now, we were talking about what you do, and I'm thinking, why would I want to come to you in the first place? I think of chiropractic as somebody has drugs and things and maybe massages people, but you're way from what you were telling me before we started, you're way beyond that. Your scope envisions a great deal more than, you know, massaging bones and things like that. So how would you describe yourself as a chiropractor?
My main focus is to help people be empowered. And there's too much going on in the world when it comes to healthcare, where it's like the best that someone can look for and hope for is a good treatment, a good way to manage a disease, whether we're talking about diabetes or heart disease, or whatever the issue is. And the thing is, the scope of medicine is all about diagnosis and treatment of disease, but something's changed inside the body as we age, and if we could go ahead and see why your body's not maintaining normal function, if that's the root cause.
But you're not a medical man. It's not your job as a chiropractor to manage disease, is it? Is that part of your definition?
No, that's one of the blessings and the perks of my job. Because if you could find out what's causing the malfunction in the body, if you can find out why the body's not doing what it's supposed to be doing, a lot of times you can start reversing that process. You start restoring proper nerve function back to the organs, the tissues, get them to start working. If your organs are working properly, where's the disease done?
Okay, right, that's true.
That's true. Exactly.
So how would somebody know, well, I have a disease, my body isn't functioning properly. The doctor says I should do this or take this medication. They don't say, you should go see Dr. SAYEGH. He'll take care of you. So how do you get the people that need you to come to you?
Well, most of the people that come to us is through word of mouth. It's been referrals, and then, TV shows like this now, right?
Okay.
So it's about raising awareness. I have two huge events coming up. One, August 20th, at an awesome Italian restaurant called La Boca in White Plains, and we do it nice. We treat everyone good, different food, seafood, things like that. And between the appetizers and the dessert, I get to speak a little bit and get any guests get a free consult with me. And so a lot of our patients, sometimes they're like, Doc, I don't know how to explain what you did, but you helped me so much. I know my cousin needs you. I know and it started off with like one person a few years back, and it was just like, I said, you know what? Why don't I just take you guys out to dinner? We'll sit, we'll get together, and we'll just talk and see, where it goes. And now all of a sudden it started to explode where we're doing dinners every month now for a couple years. And so patients are just they don't know how to explain it. And that's why we're here, to raise awareness and help people understand what's going on. Let people know that if your body is not working right, if you're being diagnosed with a chronic ailment like diabetes, for example, heart disease, if you're on blood pressure medicines, if you're on something that, if you look at the statistics, 5 out of 6 deaths in this country are from heart disease or cancer. It's sad. And the thing is, when your body is malfunctioning or breaking down, things are getting weaker. People deserve to see what that is and not just manage the disease as things as, you know what happens? It's a snowball effect. You see, I know someone who, one of my patients, a new patient who had a stroke, and he went to the hospital, and thank God for emergency care, right?
Right.
But what happened was there were so many things getting weaker inside that just going through all the treatments, the stress, the drugs, whatever it was, everything was so weak internally that all of a sudden, sometimes people go in, they come out with 3 or 4 problems, and all of a sudden his kidneys were failing, and they didn't know what was causing it, what to do, and so when I went ahead and I checked the parts of the body that control the actual kidney function, there was so much damage there done, there was so much interference, so much, it was years of wear and tear over the years, breakdown, that it was just so weak that was like the straw that broke the camel's back.
How did you become involved in the first place, though, in this particular case? Did somebody say, did another doctor recommend you? Or did
it was a patient. It was a patient. One of our patients, her name's Melissa, she went ahead and she saw them struggling. I mean, this woman spent thousands after you go through the medical tests. When you're they told him there's nothing they could do. So his kidneys were failing. He's got a little girl, like 10 years old. So that's when she's like, you have to. You don't give up on your spouse like that. And you're like, what is it we can do? And so the doctor said something like, well, there are some tests we could do, but the insurance won't cover it. And we could still look into a few more things. And in that moment, went right through her nest egg, right? Whatever savings they had, just blew. They still didn't get an answer. And then their friend Melissa goes, you're going to my doctor right now. He's different. And they brought him, and I'm happy to say it's been a couple months now, and he went back for a kidney function test, and they're elevated, they're improved. Just happy. Happy to help them.
How did you just know the solution? Did you just know the answer?
No, you gotta look for it, man.
Yeah, but I mean, did you have some sort of notion as to what? Oh, I can do this for you. I know what the problem is. I can help you.
Well,
Why didn't you come to me earlier? I mean, did you have that feeling inside yourself?
Well, there's that awareness that most people are never checking their central nerve system, the part of their body that controls and coordinates everything. I mean, we've been blessed with this amazing ability inside us to, I mean, just think of the billions of things that are going on in your body to keep you alive right now, talking to me right here. And nobody ever checks it. And over the years, we're all getting exposed to different types of stresses and tensions, and sometimes things overwhelm us. And not to mention the physical things like slips, falls, accidents, traumas. There's so many things that could go on. I could go on a list that cause tension. I think in medicine we always say stress kills, right? Stress. And nobody's looking to see the effects of it on what's keeping you alive and making sure that that's in good condition. So that was the first thing I looked for.
When they say check your central nervous system, that doesn't mean anything to me as much. What are you talking about? Are you talking about electrical impulses? What actually do you do? Are you talking about hands-on, holding hands? What do you do? So
there's actual ways to test. One of the things we have in our office is an electrodiagnostic infrared imager. And I wish they were using that in hospitals. And what it's doing, it's not looking for a specific organ where the damage is, which is to treat. I think that's why they don't use that in medicine. But what it does is it focuses on what God put inside you. You have this nerve system there. That's your gift from your Creator. There's an amazing wisdom in you. Life, we'll call it. It controls, coordinates billions of things. And it's measuring how well your autonomic nerve system, that's what controls that's what controls like your heart, your lungs, your immune system, which fights cancer and infections. And it's actually measuring to see how well those signals are getting through. Is it doing its job, or is there a problem developing in your body?
But the hospital doesn't do this when the person goes to the doctor?
I haven't found one yet.
Is that right?
And I can tell you why, I think. Because the actual scope of medicine is to find where that damage is and then to diagnose it, treat it, manage it, right? This test is not the most accurate for exactly which organ right now, because you don't know over the years how your body's adapting and trying to, but it's been over 6,000 medical journals as the most accurate tests to see if your autonomic nerve system if it's causing deterioration in your body or not, and that's why we do it.
But how come everybody, this sounds like a miracle that everybody should know about it. How come you're one of the few people who knows about it?
Don, most people are not even looking to see what the cause is. When you go ahead and you go to a doctor, most people aren't even thinking about their health. Or we're focusing on if I eat right, If I exercise, that's what being healthy is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But the truth is, eating right and exercise help your body to work better. But that doesn't mean things are working properly in your body. That doesn't mean you're healthy.
Right.
And so as soon as something happens, if things are working worse, most people, things are working worse with time.
Right.
And they're not actually checking what controls it, taking good care of it.
Right.
When you get a diagnosis, when I was told what I had,
Right.
and knowing what I know, okay,
Yeah,
and actually I've
right.
grown a lot since then through this. It's part of what helped my development, because I was just like every other doctor. I was a holistic doctor, but I was still using holistic treatments to help the symptoms, to manage, to help that person get better that way.
What does that mean, holistic methods?
Holistic is looking at the whole picture. It's
Yeah.
Using natural things that don't have any side effects, things
Yeah.
that can help promote better function. But it was more it wasn't focused on the root cause. So let's say someone, I started improving the functions of someone's intestines and their Crohn's or whatever it is. They say, oh look, the doctor told me, it's gone now, or they're feeling better. But then 4 years later, so and so had a heart attack, and that it's like, if your body has this amazing ability to heal. And when I went through what I went through, I had to dig deep to overcome what I went through. And so that's where all of a sudden I realized, I said, we have to help people get to the root cause, understand it, take responsibility for their health, because it's one of the most valuable things you have. And so, I had to go through blood, sweat, and tears to learn what I learned. And you're asking me why we're so taught by this, since every year in school, it's always just looking for disease, doing some blood tests. For kids to go to school, you have to do a physical. Every year, no one's really checking the nerve system. It's what we're taught since childhood. And then when you get diagnosed with something it triggers a fight or flight response, you're in fear. Now it's just like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Doc, what do I do? What do I do? And we're forgetting that something caused it. It's not like your body didn't keep everything functioning properly by magic. There's systems and organs and tissues working together to keep things working right. And if we can, and your autonomic nerve, your central nerve system controls this, and it really needs to be looked at. Mm-hmm. We need to find out why it's not doing its job anymore. Why is sickness spreading through your body? Mm-hmm. And so that's the root cause. And so I guess the answer is simply we're just, how many people do you know that are? It sounds like it makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. But it's like, how many people are thinking that way? It's just the way the system is.
Well, are you out there alone? Are you blowing
the
trumpet in the wind? Or are you the forebear? Are you the standard bearer? Or where are your allies? You're not out there.
So there's a group of doctors that I'm working with now, that our goal, we get together and discuss ways to help help people. And people need to know that they don't have to, there's a high percentage of people that are overcoming their illnesses, having a true victory, not just living with them or letting more things build up. And there's even a small percentage of people that haven't even done anything. And in medicine, it's called spontaneous remission. There's a whole book about it called Radical Remission. People who had stage 4 cancer, it spread everywhere. Right. It was no medical treatment. It was something where it finally was stage 4, doctors gave up on them. Mm-hmm. The ones, it's very rare, but the ones that all of a sudden it just went away, there's a whole book about it where it discusses what they had in common. Right. But if without even doing any type of intervention, it can go away. Just think about how powerful what you have inside you is. Imagine if we looked to see where there might be damage, or why is your body not expressing this amazing gift, this life properly to your organs and cells. So it's a paradigm shift is what it is. So I think that's what it is. You're asking why so many people aren't doing this. It's a completely different paradigm, a way of looking at it, where instead of focusing on the disease, you're focusing on life. Mm-hmm. And making sure it's expressing properly, mm-hmm. keeping your eyes on that higher intelligence.
Mm-hmm. Well, are you experiencing resistance from a certain group or a certain...
Oh, no, not at all. It's
okay, so you have to talk louder, or you have to yell louder? What do you have to do to make people see what you're seeing and accept what you have to give? And others like
no one really disagrees that there's always a cause for every effect. I can't think of any. Can you imagine someone disagree? No, that just happened for no reason.
Right.
So it's just a new. It's like we're creating new brain cells for people. It's like, you ever have a light bulb moment when you just see something in a new way?
Right.
It's just helping people have that aha moment where it's like, oh, wait a second. And you start to realize that you're blessed, that you have something in you that has been giving you life, keeping you alive, helping you grow, learn. Now, when the nerve system is having the same habit of thinking towards health and how you take care of your health over and over again for 50 years, that nerve system is what controls how you adapt and make changes. So it slows it down. So that's why we're learning to just be patient, help people just learn that there's always a cause, and you know, things that everybody agrees with, that if you could find the cause, wouldn't that empower you? Okay. So it's like once you find the cause, then, well, maybe there is no cure medically, no drug, no surgery, but if you could restore your body's normal function again, if you can get it doing what it was doing 10 years ago,
Give me an example.
what a difference that would be.
You say nerve system, I understand, nerve system, but be specific. What in your nerve system or my nerve system can you look at and say, aha, this is what you, gotcha, yeah.
So let's just say we were to cut all the nerves to like your kidney. What do you think would happen to your kidney? So you would never let anyone do that.
Right.
All right? I mean, the nerves control, coordinate all the functions. There's a nerve ending on every cell of your body. Every cell needs a nerve supply and a blood supply to live in your body. So if you were to cut that completely, all right, devastation, the death, right? So the question is, well, what if we saw damage?
Kidney you're talking about. You're not talking about the body.
Of any organ. Would you let me cut the nerves to any part of your body? Which part doesn't need nerves to it? Okay.
The corns on my feet.
Yeah. So the whole point is, if we could find, what if there was decay? What if you're losing nerve tissue? There's a study out in a journal called Spine. It's the top medical, one of the most peer-reviewed, it's a well-respected medical journal. It's all research done by medical neurosurgeons. And they did research on different things where it shows that you can actually have certain conditions in the spine that are overlooked in medicine that are actually causing nerves to, you're losing nerve tissue in your spinal cord, your brainstem, you know, imagine if you were told, if you knew that there was, what's keeping you alive is actually decreasing in your body, then, you know, that's not a small thing. And depending on how long it's been going on, the earlier you take care of something, the less cost, the easier it is to turn it around. The later, it's always a lot harder. So there's the urgency to get your nerve system checked and see what's going on, see what condition it's in way before anything turns into a crisis.
Well, are you talking about age? Are you talking about a child? You're talking about an adult? You're talking about an elderly person? How would somebody know that there's something wrong within the nervous system that should be checked?
Yeah.
If they have no apparent feeling about this.
So the best thing to do is the reason we do checkups, it's like, why does a woman go to the gynecologist if she feels fine? Sometimes there could be things going on, and it's better to catch her early. So you would want to do a proper checkup, a thorough evaluation, where you're looking for anything abnormal that's developing in the body, or especially damage to that central nerve system. That's key, because that's what's keeping everything functioning properly, organizing everything. So the first step would be a checkup. But for most people, because we don't take care of that, we're never looking at it, you start to notice some problems that used to go away easy, they're becoming chronic now. Or you're starting to have, you know, start getting tired throughout the day, your body's breaking, we start to go, oh, I'm getting old. When I got sick, I was in my early 30s, like somewhere 30, 31, and I started noticing certain things, and you know what I said to myself? Oh, I'm getting old. I was only 30. I'm like, yeah, it's crazy. So
well,
the thing is,
I noticed all these things, but it is because of age.
But then it gets even worse. If you're not addressing the cause or looking for it, you start managing it, dealing with it. Oh, I just got to cut back here. Can't do this. Your quality of life is decreasing, and that's sad too. But then eventually, if things keep breaking down, soon you're getting diagnosed with things, or you're see, it leads towards more suffering. So it's always better to keep.
Right.
You know,
but what are your remedies? It's not medication. What are your remedies as a chiropractor?
Well, it depends on what you find. So if you were to see something going on inside the spinal cord, where there's pressure, there's little capillaries that are bringing blood, oxygen, nutrients to the tissues. If there were, like one of those studies in that journal, Spine, these surgeons went ahead, these doctors, they were all medical doctors, by the way. They did research, and they found out where if there's even the 5 grams, it doesn't take that much pressure, but of pressure on that brainstem or on that spinal cord, and if it's even just chronic, it's decreasing the blood flow in the area, and it starts causing damage. So we start teaching people how you can go ahead and ways to start restoring the natural blood flow. If I choked off all the life to my hand, it's going to start getting worse. It's pretty much a guarantee. You know, that's like a tourniquet, right? But at the same time, if I was to start restoring life back, is there any doubt in my mind that my hand wouldn't start working better, start repairing? That's what we want to do with the brainstem, the spinal cord, the things that keep you alive and healthy. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So the power that made your body is the most powerful resource you have. If you can get your body working the way it's designed by its creator, just start working with the grand design. Mm-hmm. It's so much more powerful than just managing problems and then managing this symptom and then that. You got to get to the root cause. Mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. Well, now that you mentioned something in my family, my sister-in-law, who's 92 years old, she's had these types of problems for years, legs, back, and whatever. I don't ever remember hearing her saying, I'm going to a chiropractor. Yeah. She always goes to a doctor. Now, should I tell her, why don't you try a chiropractor?
Well, I think it depends on where you go and what you're doing. You know, the belief of the doctor plays a huge role in why some of these things aren't being done the right way. So, for example, if I just believe, and most doctors out there, after all the training and stuff, you just expect people to get sicker with age. Mm-hmm. So there's a belief that's being reinforced that, well, as time goes on, you're going to die from something, and then it gets spread to the public, and people start saying it to themselves.
Right.
What you say to yourself is so important. Mm-hmm. And especially you tell a kid, you're no good, you're no good, you're no good over and over again, and then it affects their future.
You're right.
So it changes your thinking. And the real thing is, if I was to see your sister, I wouldn't tell her she needs to see me. I would just want to take care for her and just be like, hey, honey, if you're suffering, it's like if there was a way to decrease that suffering to start improving it, because there might be a chance. Would you like to see what that is? Mm-hmm. And if she says yes, then I'll go one step further. I'll say, well, what do you know has caused things to break down? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if the answer is nothing, I'll just say, well, you know what? Let's go one step at a time and let's see if we can get you an answer. Mm-hmm. That's what people need, help and answers. Mm-hmm. Before you go trying anything without knowing what's going on.
Have you ever had a eureka moment with a patient and said, that's it, we should have thought that in the first place? Has that ever come to you?
What do you mean?
A eureka moment where everything, you've been able to determine what the cause is and how to cure it, whether it's with a pair of scissors or whatever, however you think.
So it's like Donald. He had certain issues from the stroke, and that all started healing and repairing. The kidney function started coming back. That's the whole point. Your body has this amazing ability, and my focus is on how to increase that in your body back to normal again. Mm-hmm. And our
this
goal
takes time.
It depends on how bad the damage is, how long it's been breaking down. But I can tell you this: no matter how much time it takes, it's better to be improving with the years rather than getting worse with the years. It's a lot less suffering, a lot less. The financial costs of just the medical stuff alone. Insurance doesn't end up covering everything. After a while, it's like, and I think Harvard University did a study, and they said 3 out of 4 bankruptcies in this country are from medical expenses. Mm-hmm. And so if we can save people money, we can save people time, suffering. It's like, that's why I'm here to raise awareness. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Does it ever come to a time when you have to say, well, we've tried everything, I don't know what to do?
Exactly. And whenever someone comes like that and they said, oh, I've tried everything, sometimes, I'll just go ahead.
I mean, you.
Oh, me?
You come to that conclusion in dealing with somebody that comes to see you.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I love all my patients, and I never give up. And I always believe there's a way. I mean, you're always going to be better with pressure off your nerves than pressure on your nerves, right? Mm-hmm. So the real issue is if there's something that we come to a point where it's like, I don't know what we can do. I've had people like that. Mm-hmm. I had a man come in, 82 years old, and with such severe, well, he had one kidney was gone. The other kidney had, it was cystic, and the function was down to 30% and decreasing. He already had a port put in to be hooked up to dialysis, and he came to me and he said, Doc, I don't want to be hooked up to no machine. And when I looked at his spine, 82 years old, not taking care of it, it was so decayed. So much damage, so much, I just looked at him and I had to tell him the truth. I said, I don't know what I can do. And I just saw his heart sink. And I just kind of opened my heart. I'm like, God, what do I say? And I just looked at him and I said, where there's life, there's hope. Where there's life, there's hope. And it was pretty cool because 9 months later, that one kidney was up to 50% function. I didn't know that was going to happen, but you know, it's really, you just do what you can do. At least do that, and you'd be surprised. You just do your part, do what you can do. Find out what's causing the issue, see what you can do, let God do it, then the rest is in God's hands, you know? So.
Well, that was something like a miracle. I mean, you can't determine what was the turning point in his life. You probably can't determine, but it was something that somebody did.
You're absolutely right. Life is a miracle.
Life is a miracle. Well, Doc, we have come to the end of this part of our program. I think you're going to have to come back next time or in the future to explore more of what you've done. I'd just like to remind our viewers that Rockland Psychiatric Center has community-based service locations here in Westchester County. Inpatient services are located in Orangeburg in Rockland County. And to all, good day and good health, and we're looking forward to the success of Dr. SAYEGH.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Doc.
Appreciate it. Love it.
Okay, we'll just sit here for a second and they'll run the closing credits.
Okay.
And that's it.